Alright, I'm about to get started today, tearing back into the Galaxie. I'm going to try and get that other control arm off, then I'm going to start cleaning, well, I'm going to knock out the bushings and then I'll start cleaning things up. I got to get those off and do some painting. You know, get this all nice so the engine, transmission and stuff can go back in. Yeah, I still have plenty of stuff to keep me busy. The parts are coming for the steering gear. I haven't ordered any brake stuff yet. I'll do that probably early this next week. And I gotta get the bushings out. And I got new bushings coming. They should be here Tuesday, but I probably won't have them painted and ready for the bushings by the time they get here. And one more thing too. If anyone has an alternator pulley, all I need is a pulley. I don't need the fan. This one's obviously rusted out, but if somebody has that correct pulley for a Ford alternator and you want to send it to me, I'll take it and paint it and put it on here. I could return the other alternator because I'm pretty certain I have all the parts to rebuild this in my parts stash. You know, I used to buy out old inventory and dealers and stuff over the years, and I got quite a stash of older parts. So I do have the upper bearing, and I'm certain I have I actually found the upper bearing, brought it home, but I'm sure I have these too. These were all the same pretty much all across the board. Delco, Autolite, I think all the companies use the same rear bearing. They're pretty standard. So I got this to go through, that to go through, this to go through. Fuel line, pulleys to clean up, you know, brake booster to clean up, power steering to reseal and clean up. All those need to be cleaned and painted. The backing plates, need to get all the brakes. So there's still a lot of work to be done before the engine goes in. And you know, I get this all cleaned up and the suspension back in, I could probably set the engine back in and the transmission, then start doing the, you know, the accessories. And I'd like to have the booster and power steering done before the engine goes back in. But the alternator, starter, stuff like that, no big deal. I can do that after the engine's in. And I'd like to get the, you know, just kind of get moving here so I can get onto the body. I got the other control arm out. Took me about 10 minutes. It was really, this one you can see the bolts all rusty. And I beat it out a little bit, sprayed this end, beat it in, sprayed this end, beat it out. Just kept beating it back and forth, spraying it with penetrant, and eventually just came out. You can see the little teeth where it pounds into the frame, and you can see kind of where I did in the nut, wailing on it with the hammer. I put the nut on so it wouldn't mushroom the end of the bolt, so it would go through the thing. You know, if I mushroomed it, it's not going to go through that. And I think the new bushings come with bolts, but yeah, it definitely needs replacing. So I'm not going to video all the boring, mundane part of bead blasting everything. I think I'm going to put a soup can or something over these and tape it with Gorilla Tape so I can put these in the bead blast cabinet and not get stuff in the joints. And I'm going to bead blast the spindles, and I'll tape up all this with Gorilla Tape. And I got to get this off, you know, get these off, get these brackets off, these brackets off. And I'm going to do that today, right now, in fact, in those brackets. But this is what I use to get that out. All else fails is get out a bigger hammer, right? That's the old saying. Well, that's what I did. And if the bigger hammer didn't work, the torches would have come out. But the bigger hammer did the job. I'll do a little video here and there of them after I've blasted them and after I've primed them, and maybe putting some paint on them or something. They're going to be satin black. They're not going to be gloss black. I'm going to paint all that stuff the same as I paint the frame, which is kind of a low gloss black. I mean, Ford called it gloss black, but it wasn't really shiny, so that's what I'm doing here. Under the cowl, the paint is as shiny as new there, and I love that color. That's the color of the car. That's the original color of the car, and that's the color it's going back to. It's going to look so nice. Well, as cold bore motors would refer to it, I'm not going to say the choice words, but this is basically what it is. I'll call it mahookie work. So now we have to clean all this mahookie off, because the bead blast cabinet, you know, you work a lot of times getting more, the rust cleans off easy with it, but the grease is a different story. The beads tend to stick in the grease, so you kind of got to get the grease, as much of it off. The cabinet will clean it off, but it just makes life a lot easier if you just get as much of the grease off as you can. So I'm going to go around and do exactly that. Clean it up the best I can before it goes in the cabinet. So you can see I'm starting to get down to the bare steel there. But, you know, it's just time consuming, and I'm going to knock out the bushings, and I'll do a little video of that too. I told you I'd do a little video of what I do, but that's kind of what you do. You go around and scrape all this stuff out best I can, and I'll prep it for the cabinet, blast cabinet, to clean it up. I'll probably throw this in the parts washer. I don't want to get solvent on that boot because it'll swell it up, and I don't want to hit that boot with the bead blast cabinet either, so I might cover it up or do something so I don't blast the joint. Does that show up? There's a little green paint. Most of it come off in scraping and cleaning, but pretty much all from here to here there was like a green paint. I'm wondering if that was something factory. Maybe one color was one side, another color was another side, but definitely had green paint on there. And I cleaned this up, the lacquer thinner, because I want to tape with Gorilla Tape around there. That bead blaster doesn't seem to affect Gorilla Tape, so I'm going to tape it around here to tape this off. And then I have the plugs that, you know, come without the grease fitting. And that grease fitting was spewing grease out after I put grease in, so it needs to be replaced. So I'll just put the plug in there to prevent anything from getting in this end of the ball joint, and then I can bead blast. You can see the original nuts for the shock absorbers. I mean, these were what held the shock absorbers in, and I believe they're the original nuts. I'm pretty certain those are the original shock absorbers. Might give one of them a little cleanup and see if it has any markings on it. So I'm going to knock out the control arm bushing next. So basically I have a bag of tools I made to do the Chevy bushings and the old Chevs, GMs. A lot of the GMs are the same, so these will do most of the GMs from the late 50s, early 60s. But you find something that fits in between. Looks like Chevy's a little different, so I'll find some metal and make some for doing the bushings on these. I might be able to push this one in and out without bending this one, but if it starts to bend, I'm going to make a tool. I mean, you can stuff a socket, anything in there, just to maintain that, you know, so you don't crush your gap there is the main thing you want to do. And I'm going to oil this. This is the bushing, so I'm going to oil all that so when it pushes through the control arm, it doesn't bind, or, you know, just makes life a little easier. So I used a socket just as my spacer there, a socket to push, and I'm going to see if I can push that arm out, or that bushing out. That's why you use oil. It just makes life super easy. And you can use an air hammer or air chisel. Does the same thing. So that's one bushing out. I'm going to knock all the bushings out and then start bead blasting after the bushings are out. Oh, sorry, I had the camera set on the wrong setting. I took this one out with the air chisel so you could see how it could be done, but I pushed the settings button instead of the button to make it start videoing. So I basically just, go around with the air chisel, as you can see, and just mush that side in a little bit, and then the little collar, I just kind of grab that and just kind of work it a little bit like this, maybe even like that if you can't get, because it's tight in there. So you got to kind of go like that to get it like that, and then it comes right out. Yeah, my dad and I made that press together. Painted the ends red there because, just so they'd see them to not bash my feet on them all the time. But I made it the way I wanted it. I used a press all the time at one of the places I worked. And there was things I liked about it and things I didn't like about it. And I would use it for my own personal stuff too. And so I decided to make my own and make it to the dimensions I wanted and to where I could do what I wanted with it. So that's what I did, and I put a 12-ton jack on it. And it's simple to change jack. You take out this screw, you push this down, and the jack slides right out. And I could put a 20-ton jack in it if I want, just about any size that fits this base, or I could even make a bigger base if I wanted one. This is a ramrod from a hydraulic cylinder. These were the mounting ears for the I had a whole hydraulic cylinder, so I just happened that the cylinder push rod was the same diameter as the mounting holes, so I just cut them off and welded them on this for guides. So basically I made this press from everything used. This steel was an old gas well gate. There was a gas well behind my folks, and there was a big gate there, and they replaced it at one time. And they just threw the old gate off in the weeds, and I dragged it home, and this is what eventually became of it. I think I bought these springs, the jack, maybe the angle. It might have been left over from something else, and maybe this. These are just little steel loops I welded over just to hold the springs, and I put one of those cylinder mounts underneath here too. And then I made a bunch of things that fit over this. I don't know where I put them. They're somewhere around in a box that have different ends on them for doing different things. Some have a big thing, some have a pointy thing, just for different. Every time I would do a job and I needed like a specialty tool for it, I just made it, and then I would just throw it in this box, and somewhere around the garage, that box of parts, if I find it, I'll show you what I made for it. Well, no matter how you cut it, control arm bushings are a pain to get out. But they came out. This one, they were both stuck on this shaft. This one was on this shaft and started coming off the rubber. This one, when I went to push it out, the rubber and this rubber came out. This stayed on the shaft, and the shaft, it just pulled right out of there. And then the rubber came out of this, and then I just took that out with the air chisel. These type of control arms, it's easier to just do them with the air chisel to get them out. The lowers, it's easier to use the press. I just use what's easiest, but the air chisel does a good job. So this is the driver's side. I'm going to do the passenger side next, and then they're going to go in the start stuff. I'm going to do the right side of the car, all the pieces first, and then the left side, all the pieces first, so I don't mix anything up. So I got the other side apart. This is the driver's side. You can see this bushing. Yeah, it was 100% for sure shot. And I also noticed that one of the bolts here, this one, see how the threads are flattened? That bolt needs to be replaced. So Maybe, Bill, if you're watching my video and if you have one of those 65s that has one of these bolts, and maybe this too. I don't think this is damaged. This looks okay. Probably what happened was this was loose at one time and wiggling around in there. Car must have drove really crazy if that was the case. You know, I mean, that's kind of what it looks like because this is not damaged at all. And I think that's what happened. It is looks like a grade 8 bolt, so yeah, if you have one, let me know. There we are, all the front end bushings out. So now it's just going to be a matter of everything in line for this poor bead blast cabinet. It's going to get a workout. The backing plates, you can't see in there, the lights are on in the garage, but right backing plates in there. This is right lower, right upper, right spindle, right engine mount bracket. The radiator supports for the lower end, shift linkage. All the stuff will get blasted. So that's the next, probably through next week, I'll be cleaning parts and getting them ready for paint. And the driver's side pile of goodies. So yeah, I got some work cut out for me. I'm not going to video bead blasting and stuff like I say. It's just, you know, and I tried to video taking these bushings out, but these things were scooting around and I was knocking the camera over and was in the way of it a lot of times. So I got a little bit, but most of the time I was bumping the camera like I say, or, you know, it was just kind of not good video. Need like somebody that can hold the camera while I work the things so they can move the camera around. I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to call it a day, and if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to see this car all fixed up and, you know, everything done up nice and good running order, back in its factory original green, subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching.